Welcome to Culture Before Content. Culture Before Content, from Music for All and presented by Yamaha. And now, here's your host, David Duarte.
Hey, welcome to the show. Welcome to Culture Before Content, and thank you for joining us on the Music for All podcast network, where we are thankful for the support from Yamaha, our national presenting sponsor. At Music for All and for all of us, our mission is to create, provide, and expand positively life-changing experiences through music. And I know that we do that each and every day. Although some of us right now might be on a little break, you never know, but you can still do it. I'm David Duarte. I'm your host for today's episode. It's already episode 20. I should probably stop counting because I think I'm going to lose track or get the number wrong at some point. All right. So hopefully many of you are joining us live today. Whether you're joining us on Facebook Live or on YouTube, we're thrilled to have you with us. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, I'm still happy you're listening. I just hope you enjoy the show, but you can't really respond. Although you can. I learned that. You can respond in your car, but the driver next to you makes faces, but I don't care. I listen anyway. You can catch the broadcast at any time on Facebook. For those of you tuning in on Facebook Live, please like and share this broadcast, and don't hesitate to leave a comment or your thoughts. Like, for example, when were some of you out for summer break? For some of us, we're still not out yet. I still have 7 days to go. Can you believe that? Pop it in the chat. Let us go. Leave a comment. Do anything. If you're on YouTube, you can pop the comments there. If you're live, show us your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to our channel and sharing this video across any of your social media platforms. You can stay connected through the week and dive deeper to the podcast, any of the podcasts, the new ones, old ones, by visiting the Music for All podcast network. We're available on Apple Podcast and Spotify, which is perfect for tuning in on the go and keeping the culture alive. Or how about this? Something to do in the summer while you're doing those long, amazing road trips. I did a 2,000-mile one last year. Oof. All right, but your engagement truly matters because it enhances our culture. So let's talk about last week. So last week we had Jabari Tovar. He was known for being a culture-responsive curriculum, and if you were here last week, he is one of Yamaha's 40 under 40, and he was absolutely fantastic. The thing I really loved about his story is that he was a music performance major that kind of found his way into the general music classroom and then found his way into the percussion world, and he was just amazing at student engagement, and just his teaching philosophy and his attitude were something to be a part of. So take a listen, go back and watch. What a great show. But let's talk about this week. Today's guest is Lincoln Rowe. He is a band director at Ohio County High School in Kentucky. Mr. Rowe's career exemplifies the impact of a dedicated band director and the experiences that can have on student achievement and community engagement. His involvement highlights the importance of versatility and commitment to music education. For those of you looking to emulate his success, we're going to talk publicly about fostering consistency, community involvement, and educational focus. So please welcome to the show, Mr. Lincoln Rowe.
Hey, David, how are you?
Oh my gosh, your mic sounds absolutely fantastic. I'm doing great, by the way, but I get caught up. I'm like, I love this. And for those of you listening, sometimes this actually is our actual meeting. So let's talk about this, Mr. Rowe. Tell us who you are, where you teach, anything, a little bit about you before we get into my lovely, crazy questions.
Yeah, my name is Lincoln Rowe. I'm the band director. I'm fortunate enough to be the band director at Ohio County High School here in Beaver Dam, Kentucky. We are a 9 through 12 high school with around 1,150 students. And one of the really awesome things about our program is that our middle school is on the same campus. It's just the next building over. So we start our band students in 7th grade.
Wow.
And I am super fortunate that I have a great co-teacher at the middle school named Jared Thurman. And I get to actually go over and see our middle school students every day, and we get to team teach. And so I will see students from their beginning band, from trying their instrument, figuring out that not everybody can play alto saxophone, but we do need tuba players, all the way until they graduate. So it's awesome.
Some of us try to play alto saxophone. I'm still working on it. I'm only like 44 years into it. No, 46 years into it. I've been trying really hard.
I'm convinced that whenever I tried out, my band director must have put a 5 on there, and he put me on trumpet. So,
oh wow! You already sparked my first question. You ready for it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you start band in 7th grade. That's amazing. What are the kids like by the time they get to high school? I'm going to start with some questions here about that. 'Cause you
Yeah.
got some curiosity. So what's it like having the kids start in the 7th grade? That gives you what, 2 years before they get to the high school?
Yeah, it gives us 2 years, and we really have to, kind of hit the ground running. Our beginning classes are split into 3 different beginning classes. We have beginning percussion, which is taught by my co-teacher, and we have beginning woodwinds and beginning brass class. So we're able to kind of meet all of their needs, and because they're in the like instrument classes, we're able to kind of move a little bit quicker and bridge that gap.
How often do you get to see the middle school kids? I know you said you get to see them a lot, but
Yeah,
specifically how about how much you get to see them in a week?
we have a 40-minute period every day, 5 days a week.
Wow. How helpful has that been for recruitment to high schools? Just curious.
Oh, it is. It has changed the game because you're able to develop those relationships with those students. You're able to, whenever you're down there every day, you're able to help them see that this is much more than just a 1 or 2 year try it out. We use the phrase a lot of, well, we need to learn this so that whenever we're in high school, we can have a good time.
And
We
how yeah,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean. How did your high school bands configured? So, like I said, this is like my brain's like you start them in 7th. By the time they get to 9th, they're only on year 3. So, how are the high school bands configured at your school?
Right now, a month ago, we were doing all of our band students together in one class at the high school. Now, in the past, we've had a freshman only band that then fed into a symphonic band. So we kind of I came from a school where we started in 6th grade. So I found a way to make my own little 8th grade, my 3rd year of middle
Wow.
school within the high school. But this next year, we're going to have Jared Thurman, the middle school band director and my co-teacher. He's going to be able to come to the high school in the afternoons now every day. So we're splitting out into a percussion ensemble class, and then we will have a winds only class at the high school.
Wow. That's neat. So, you talked about relationships. So let's start there. Cause like I said, this is, I think it's right up here. Who knows where it is on every screen, but this is the Culture Before Content podcast. And you use my magic word. Hey, you get lots of comments. They got Go Mr. Rowe. We got from Kyle. We've got nice job, John Fannin. Oh, that's good. This guy's pretty cool. Elizabeth, wait, which guy? You mean me? I'm kidding. And so I'm sure Elizabeth thinks you're pretty cool. So you're doing a really good job on that one.
Thanks.
Way to go. But you said relationship. So let's talk about that relationship in terms of culture. What does relationship mean to you?
I think relationship means that we are there for them so much more than just to teach them about their instrument. But we're fortunate enough that we get to use band as the conduit to teach them about life and to teach them, about working hard at something, not giving up, doing it over and over and over. Right now, I hope that there is a medical student somewhere who is going to go into, maybe be a heart surgeon. And I hope they're working and doing it over and over until they have it perfect. So that's
Yeah.
kind of, that's what I think we end up with our students.
Oh, Mike Pasquale. I can't even say these names. Well said, Mr. We get a lot of comments today. This is great. Hey, see, we keep getting more. So, the way I like to determine is band does teach more, but I've been trying my darndest to put an actual, standard to it. So I have my standard called real world connection. And then that's part of it. But the other thing I kind of have going on is, there's what we do in school, the school connections that we have to it, but then there's the real world connections. And, for me, I had graduation yesterday and it was kind of like everything comes to a pass, and my dream is that every kid just appreciates music by the time they graduate. But then what I've noticed, and maybe you can talk about this on your end, more and more kids start asking me, hey, is music a good career? And some of those things, because we're building that relationship. When you have a strong relationship at your school, do you find that the kids gear towards that music and think about doing a career? Or do you find that a lot of your kids can keep doing their music, but they keep going on and doing other things, but still keeping their music alive in their soul?
Yeah, that I really hope that in doing this, I can create some lifelong musicians. And we've had several students that have gone on to do music as a career. They've gone on. We have some, just in my short time at Ohio County, we've had some students that are already band directors, doing the thing. And we have students that are getting ready to go to graduate school for music performance from our from our little rural school here, kind of in the middle of nowhere. And but I do hope, and I tell my students all the time, I hope that even if they don't go into music, that some of the things that they've learned with me and with our program, that they'll be, the most on-time plumber. They'll always be an early plumber, or they'll do it, and they'll do it well, and they'll do it right. And then I also tell them I hope that if they're ever 30 or 40 years old, and their church is maybe going to do like an Easter cantata or a Christmas thing, they can break their saxophone or their flute out of the closet and dust it off, and do a few chromatic scales and just hop in there and play, because I think that's the ultimate thing, is that they become lifelong lovers of music and of creating it, really.
Yeah, I still think trumpet players have a way big advantage at Easter time. I don't know what about it, but I think that I see more trumpet players have gigs at Easter. Saxophone, I've tried, but I actually played probably more trumpet on Easter gigs than I've played saxophone on some of these things. But like I said, can you describe, like, Kentucky to me is like this big, long object. Where in the state exactly is your school?
I am south of Owensboro, Kentucky, and then I'm north of Bowling Green, Kentucky. So we're about, you mentioned Nashville earlier. We're about an hour. I can be in downtown Nashville in about an hour and a half if the traffic's on.
I used to live in Hermitage, and I could be in downtown Nashville in about an hour and a half as well. I'm just throwing. I'm sorry for my Nashville friends out there. I'm not kidding. It just, time of day, I laugh. That's sometimes getting down there takes a little bit of effort.
Goodness.
All right, well, let's keep focusing on this culture thing. So when you think about culture of your band program, besides relationship, what other thing comes to mind for you? What makes you successful, Mr. Rowe?
I think that
Oh, looks like we lost you for a second. Oh,
here I am.
Coming back.
All right.
I know it was kind of neat. I got that little jumbly thing there for a second. Okay, let's go back. Go back and answer the question. What are some of the other things that you think of when it comes to culture?
I think that our students knowing that they have a place to belong, that this is, that we've created a safe space for them, that it is absolutely okay for them to come in and fail, that this is a judgment-free zone. And I tell them all the time, Mr. Rowe has failed plenty, but you're very fortunate that those all happened before you, and that you get to benefit from all the things that I learned from those.
You know what? You said some magic words there, because I always think that we in band need to teach, and I mean, failure is like a hard word, but we need to teach that it's okay not to get it, because I almost think the recovery skill is actually something we need to practice. Like, you can have the darkest day of your experience in band, but how you treat it or recover for. Have you ever gotten lost in a piece of music and at some point didn't know how to come in? That is a skill set, and I sometimes think that we tend to cover up for that, and so that's a great point.
Yeah, I think there's I want our students to leave our program and be risk takers, and I hope that.
Oh, got a little bit of another delay here.
Because it is such a safe space for them to take risk in. It's like driving down the interstate and one lane of it is, covered in pillows on all sides. They can fail and it not be the end of the world.
Right. I truly believe it. It was fun. I did graduation yesterday. It was really hot for us Washingtonians. It was 76 degrees yesterday. So the kids were like complaining of hot. I'm like, not hot. But I laughed. And somebody said this, and I actually believe it. Pomp and circumstance, as much as we practice it, by the time they've gotten through by the way, we played it 10 times yesterday. I do the ploy har. We got 10 times through letter A. It got better every single time. And it kind of brought to mind, like, oh yeah, they're getting practice. If they made a mistake, oops, B flat, whatever. We'll try a different valve next time. It got better and better. And by the fourth or fifth time, it was great every time. But it was one of those things of like, I sometimes think we band directors forget to let the kids make the mistake, but even more importantly, allow them to process how to fix it or or fix it on their own. Because we constantly sometimes in our classroom culture, hey, that's a B flat. Hey, you missed a thing. But sometimes it's so, again, it's that recovery skill issue that it is. So moving on, I'm gonna keep moving on here because I like this conversation.
Good deal.
So how big is the city that your school is in?
We have around 3,000 people in our city, but our county, which we draw from all over, we have a very large footprint of a county. And so, that number can be a little bit, it can deceive you a little, but it's still maybe, I'd say there are probably 8,000 people in our total county.
Yeah, and that's why this question comes around, because like I said, I'm seeing some trends here, and when we have success. Number one is you've got relationships going. Number two, which is now our next topic, community relationships or community engagement. What are some of the things what is your community like? How is it helping you? How do you help the community?
Oh goodness, I am so fortunate. Whenever this job opened in 2012, my wife and I were very aware of how much the band means to the people in this community. I mean, I can throw a rock, and I wouldn't, of course, but I could throw a rock right now from my home and hit somebody that was a member of the band, or their child was a member. The people, at our church, there's so many people that were a part of Ohio County Band. So the community want something to support, and they take a lot of pride in their band program. We actually host the oldest marching band festival in the state of Kentucky.
Wow.
And they absolutely, our community loves it, and we try every way that we can to give back to our community. And sometimes I talk to the students a lot about pet band. Like pet band, it is not about us at that moment. We are, this is one of those times where we're a support arm, and we are helping the community. And I tell them all the time, there are more people at a pet band game that will see you than will see you at our Christmas concert, that will see you at our assessment event. So we need to be enthusiastic. We need to show that we care and we love our community and we support what's going on here, so that whenever we come back to them and say, hey, we need to fix this, or we're going on this trip to give our students this experience, will you help us? Then it all kind of works out.
Yeah, again, you can bring up all these points that I've run into just the last couple of days. For those of us who are still teaching, like I said, I had I had 3 concerts last week, and so the last one was graduation, and first half of my career, I think they were all indoors, and I don't know how that worked out. It just did, and now I'm back to outdoors, and so I cannot predict the weather at any given time. But one of the things about performing outside is, I don't want the kids wearing their full outfit. I'm not looking for them to wear their jackets and their ties and be in like, I don't want them dying of heat out there, but I want them to look the professional part. And so we had a nice conversation about this. And I think I had one student who accidentally didn't pay to that attention. But what I liked about it was the black shoes thing. They had enough, aha to make it. They took care of it within 30 minutes. And I was just so proud of the kids, because who are we there for? Graduation kids. We're not there. And I say this constantly. We're not there to make a fashion statement. We're there for the graduation, and we are a part of it. We are not any of the focus, and we need to look amazing. I don't want anybody to ever look at the band. And when you say pet band, it's the same thing. Who are we there for? Yeah, we like the music, but we're there for the basketball teams. When we're doing basketball, we're there for the basketball. Soccer, we're there for soccer. I did wrestling pep band this year. That was actually super fun. We're there for whatever event we got. We are not the focus. That's what our concerts are for, and that's a whole different ball game. Anything else on community that pops in your head?
I think that the community element of what we do is so, so important. And I think that's been a huge part of our success here, is that, we, in the spring, whenever we go out and we recruit at the 6 elementary schools that we recruit at, and that paper goes home with little Johnny or little Becky, mom and dad see it, and they instantly, I hope, think of a positive interaction that they had with Ohio County Band. And they go, oh my goodness, of course, this is such a great program. We, because of what we've seen in the community, because of what we've heard from people that have been a part of it, we would love for you to be a part of the band. Scott Lang. Yeah. There you go. Throw out to Scott Lang.
Oh, Scott Lang. We've known each other for so long. talk about the most funniest interview of the season. That man is a dynamo from the word go and can talk faster than all of us put together. Um, and I was thinking, if I will bet you said you've been there since 2012.
Yes.
Yeah, and I bet already you've got kids coming up to you that you have no idea. I'm going to be playing this instrument. I bet you already have that happening, because I think that's why it's so important to foster the community thing. And and those of you who have done interviews or still have interviews to come, that was one of the questions on my interview. I'm finally going on year 4, but I still remember that question, and it's the one that has popped in my head, and the one I really believe in, which is, how do you invest in the community so the community gives back?
Yes.
And I think that is so important. And we were at a gig a couple weeks ago at the Port of Campus Washougal, and I had a kid come up to me and say, "I'm going to be playing clarinet and band." And I thought that was just the most amazing. First off, they recognized me. Second off, in the middle of nowhere, here's a kid excited to be about band, and that's what I want. I want the community. That's where we, the band directors, support the community. So how about, do you have any gigs that you do outside of band, like that are different? Like, do you have any fun community gigs that you guys do?
We've done Christmas caroling at the nursing home. Like, we've gone to one of our local nursing homes. I have a 5th period class, which is called Instrumental Methods. And it's kind of like our all district, all state, and our students that are kind of like, getting ready for college scholarship auditions or honor band auditions. So it's kind of the heavy hitters, so to speak. And so we'll load them up and take them down to the nursing home and just play some real easy, that's the thing. I think sometimes we let perfection get in the way of just doing little gigs for our community. We don't have to go out and play Persichetti. We can go out and just play the 4-part chorales, Christmas songs that we found on J.W. Pepper. And those people aren't going to care. They're just going to care that you're there and that somebody took the time out of their day to come and play for them.
Well, I find the 55 older communities really like the Symphony Number 6. I'm kidding. I'm just throwing. Persichetti joke.
Boy,
Persichetti joke.
They stand up and cheer for Rhythm of the Winds. I'll tell you that.
Woo! That's it. Okay, we've lost control here at Culture Before Content. It must be close to summer. And so, and so I'm thinking, you have just an incredible positive attitude, and I'm sure that rubs up on your kids. But what are some of the secrets to your own classroom? Like, how, are there things that you're purposeful about with your own attitude towards the kids? Are there things that you do? How is your approach in the classroom to create who you are, to help your band become who they are?
I think, whenever we're talking about culture and I think that is a part of our rehearsal. And I think that's anytime that you are in front of your students or you're interacting with your students, you're influencing your culture. I don't think there's a moment that you're not. So realizing that culture is dynamic and that it's not static, that it's constantly ebbing and flowing. I think that you have to, one of the things that I try and do is take a temperature of the room every time that I'm with them and just see how we're feeling, how we're doing. And there are some days that it might feel a little down, but then I have to look in the mirror, because at the end of the day, energy is like a boomerang. Whatever you throw out, you're going to get back. So I think that's something for everyone watching, is understanding that we're not victims to our culture. It is what you create. I say it to my wife a lot, why can't the band program go and do this? Or why can't we play this? And she'll look back and go, well, why not? You're the guy in charge. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's, we teachers, we got to remember sometimes that the kids are in front of us, and not that it's our job, but it is our responsibility. We can be having the worst day of our lives, but we've got, I say, I've got to put on that face that does that culture. And yeah, there are times that I always say this, is your discipline style, are you more of a matter of fact person? Are you a calm person? Are you an excited, what's your like a corrective behavior? Just curiously, what's your corrective behavior?
I think
style.
I think my corrective behavior, I try and be more proactive and try and have systems and expectations in place that keep us from having behavioral issues. Now, whenever we do, it varies on, I always try and keep it positive and come from the light, so to speak. But one thing that I will always do is if I have to get onto a student, I'll just maybe pull them off to the side or something like that. But if I do get onto them, I always like to follow up with them within 5 or 10 minutes of getting onto them or at the end of class. Just follow up with them and let them know that it's your behavior. It's what you did. It's not you. I like you. I think you're awesome. You're rocking and rolling. But that 2 to 3 minutes of who you showed me, that wasn't it.
Yeah, and that goes back to that safe space, and trying to create safe space for our kids. Sometimes on our own days can be some of the hardest things to do, but at the same time, I find it, at least I have to be honest with the kids, and I've got to find that way, because again, there's high expectations, but then there's high expectations and making sure that we keep pointing that direction, even if we've gone on a down cycle. Because I think to myself, ever so often, our students are up and down. Like even the best student can have a downtime, and how we handle that is extremely important. And like I said, and so thinking about the safe space, now let's talk about the good side. So, I can tell, I would assume that, like, do you have a pattern to your classroom is what I'm saying. Are your rehearsals fun, engaging? Are you a workhorse? How do you go about this, Mr. Rowe?
I try and keep them as engaged as possible. And I know you touched on this a little bit earlier. I try and if a student plays a B flat plays B natural instead of a B flat, they know. They know. And everybody in the room knows that there was a wrong note played. I don't really have to say anything. It's like, okay, here we go. Let's do it one more time. Let's do it again. You know what, and I think that's my way of empowering our students is, I talk to them about, and this might be a weird reference, but I talk to them about being like a self-cleaning oven. Like you just we're giving you the tools, your ears are well developed, and you can tell if there's a wrong note. You can tell if you're doing this or that wrong. And so I think that the level of engagement that we keep our students in during rehearsal helps us with a lot of not having any issues. But then, I think energy is one of the most important things that you can have. And I think if we're having fun, we're having a good time, but I do think we have to have a balance. I think we have to find and I think our students kind of buy into that. I think you can feel it in the room. You come in, we're getting closer to an assessment event or a concert. I'll look at my co-teacher and I'll be like, man, they're really on today. Like it's, and there's some days that I want to be happy and jovial, leading up to an assessment event or something like that. And the kids are, they're a little locked in. So it's fun because they hold me accountable too. And I think that's something I've developed over time is letting them know that it's okay to hold me accountable on the things that I hold them accountable on.
I appreciate that comment. I've told my students, I will say I am sorry. I will do anything. If I'm wrong, I will admit it. I said that is a hard thing that I had to learn growing up, because I used to be kind of like, oh yeah, I guess I was wrong. And I try to be very honest with my students, most honest that I can. And I try to reinforce, even if a mistake happened, 6 months ago, I try to bring it up in a positive light that could have happened. But you said about the B flat and the B natural. I'm still learning my fingerings here. But my thing is, what's mean, and I think I learned this actually from you, Scott Lang, if you're listening, is that the mean thing about music is we do all of our work together. And that's why it's hard for us to understand other subjects unless we go and participate in them. We do it all together. And when 99 people do the right thing, you're only going to notice the one person that does it wrong. And so that has to be like, it's almost like, it can be very intimidating for the kid that's playing the wrong note, because you don't want the focus. You don't want the kid to accidentally call themselves out. Or if you have a student that may be new to their instrument. I have a couple of kids that has just started in January of this year, and I don't expect the notes to be right. And so you've got to give that kind of latitude. But music is unforgiving in the fact that we always have to make it as, and I think David Coons touched on this, which was the perfect intent versus the perfection has been super helpful for me this year, because I want a perfect band too, but I also know that none of us are perfect. I'm not perfect. Still working on whether B flat is 1 or 2. I'm kidding. And of course, see, I'm treble biased because I'm thinking trumpet. I could be, whatever. So, are there any other tips that you have for teachers out there? When this is like kind of like our own mental well-being. When you're not having a good day, do you have any tricks to make it positive, or are you good? Are you just good at getting through? How does Lincoln Rowe keep that vibe alive?
I'll be honest with the kids and I will tell them, hey, I need you to pick me up today. Or after, if I haven't told them leading into a rehearsal, I'll tell them at the end, like, it's the highlight of my day. Like, I look forward to this from the moment my feet hit the ground in the morning, is to being able to work with you and be around you. And there are days that I'll tell them, you've picked me up. You've helped me, get through this rainy, dreary day that it is. It's February, and you're getting that one slog of school where you haven't had a day off from President's Day all the way until, like, April 33rd or something like that. You just feel like you're just working like crazy. But yeah, that is the thing, is keeping the energy up and letting them know, being vulnerable, really letting the students know that I'm human. I get sad, I get happy, I get excited, I get angry, just like they do. And I'm 37 years old, and I'm still learning how to regulate some of my emotions too. So it's like High School Musical says, we're all in this together.
We are all in this together. So let's take a little sidestep, and let's go like on my Leslie Moffat tribute here. How does Lincoln Rowe rely? How do you keep yourself energized what are some of the things that you do to keep yourself energized on the outside, to keep your culture alive?
Oh goodness. Any break that we get, I like to go hiking. I've really gotten into doing the Appalachian Trail here recently. And I just like doing hard things, and because that's what we ask our students to do all the time, is we, ask them to do something completely new. So there was a period of time there where I was really into running and doing half marathons and things like that. And then now I'm really into hiking, but I think you're touching on something great there, David. And I want to hear what you think too. But I do think that, a lot of times, and in my early days of my career, I think I really neglected filling myself back up. We spend all this time pouring and pouring and pouring ourselves out into our students, into their families, and into our community. But it is super beneficial to your culture for you to be healthy.
Well, I'll answer your question. And to our audience out there, give us some, if you got a thought about what do you do for your, what are some of the things you do to relax outside of band, or even if you're not a band person, what are your hobbies that you do to keep you mentally alive? Throw them in the chat. It'd be great, because I know, here's my answer to your question. I'm going to kind of go back on, maybe goes back to the Leslie Moffat story, which is, I was such a band director, and I hate to say this, I was about your age. And when I was doing band so hard, I didn't pay attention to myself, and I got pneumonia, and I didn't know it. And I kept working and I kept working. And then I ended up in the hospital for 5 days. Because I overworked myself to the point that I had pneumonia, and then it got so bad and into my lungs, it got a little close. I'm just saying, I forgot to take care of me. And that was my aha moment. So what are the things I like to do? I love video games. Like I said, I got my Assassin's Creed thing coming. I got 7 days, and then I'm going on I lied. So if you're out there, Tennessee, I will finish my etudes. I promise. I'll get all your etudes written. And after that, then I'll get to my Assassin's Creed. And then I moved to the Pacific Northwest. You talk about hiking, you got the whole summer. I mean, I look at Mount Hood right out my window right there. And I look at it is absolutely gorgeous. But I want to explore more of Washington, Oregon. It's gorgeous. And now that I can stay here for the summer, I went to Phoenix last summer, not a recommended vacation spot in July. I'm throwing that up. I love you, Phoenix. But yeah, when 90 is the low for 23 days in a row, not optimal. So yeah.
Goodness.
Excuse me. I think for me, it comes down to, I just like to do things that keep my brain occupied. And I actually try to get away from music as much as I can in the summer, because I know when I come back, I'm excited. That's what I want to be excited about the music. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think, touching on what you said, I think the month of June, I'm very selfish with my month of June. Like, this is, I'm more than okay with, July 5th, knowing that my life is about to be, for the next 8 months, in the service of others. I'm cool with that. But during the month of June, I really like to get out there and do all the things, and like you said, refuel and come back energized, because that's what my students need. They don't need grumpy, overworked, mad, angry. They need excited, rejuvenated, and ready to just fill them with joy through music.
Well, I like to remind my kids to do some of this stuff too, because some of those kids go a little hard, and it's something like, take a break.
Yeah.
One of my former private teachers, I'll remember it because I get obsessive compulsive with music. He looked at me and goes, I'm not, and again, I don't recommend this for everyone, but he did say it. He goes, "You're practicing too much. You need to take a week off and then come play for me." And he kind of like took my saxophone away from me because I wasn't improving. I was going through the motion of trying to do too much, and I wasn't taking care of me. And it was kind of, again, it's those things, we all get it. We all are competitive in our own little special way.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we do it to our own detriment. And that's why I said taking care of ourselves is just as important. But yeah, I mean, I know anything else you got up on the plans for summer? Because I think that's that's kind of like our theme today.
Oh,
Summer
goodness.
is coming. What you doing?
We're my wife and I are about to go to Detroit to visit some family, and then go to Chicago for some baseball games, and then come back and hang out for like a week or so. And then also another great thing during the summer that has absolutely changed my life is the Music for All Summer Symposium. I mean,
Woohoo!
shameless plug there, but
Oh.
you don't know because you don't know, because you're just looking in from the outside. But it's one of the most amazing weeks for me every year. I'm on a beautiful campus. Yeah.
Tell me why. I want to know. Why Summer Symposium?
For a whole week, I am there with the all-stars of my activity, of what I've been passionate about since, I walked into Callaway County Middle School in 1999. I mean, they are the giants of this activity. And the even cooler thing is that, they treat you. I mean, I'm just little old Lincoln Rowe from Beaver Dam, Kentucky. Okay. And they treat you like you are the most important person in the world, because it's amazing. It's hard to find words to describe it, and I'm stumbling all over myself. But wow,
no, it's so good. Give me one moment that has made an impact on you. Anything. It doesn't have to be anything specific, but what you think Summer Symposium, there has to be one thing that made a difference on you as a band director.
Whenever I asked Jarrell Horton why he came to Summer Symposium, and he said that he felt as if though he was cut off and on his own island at his wonderful school of Vestavia Hills in Alabama. And that whenever he came there, he felt like he was challenging himself, challenging his ideas. And I feel like that's what I have whenever I go to Summer Symposium, is that I'm, every year I'm having to not really reevaluate, but reaffirm. Why do I believe what I believe within my pedagogy? Why do I believe what I believe within my culture of my program? And really that's it.
Wow. Well, thank you for that. Because it's kind of funny how these conversations let's talk about that. That's really great. So
yeah.
Here's my next question. So you said you have competitive things that you do. I heard you said performance assessments down there.
Mm-hmm.
How much competitive is in your program? Is marching band, jazz band, concert band? What are the competitive aspects, and what are the non-competitive aspects? But really, let's start with the competitive aspects of your program.
Our competitive aspects, we have roughly 3 competitive aspects to our program. We have obviously the fall marching band. Kentucky is pretty big with our fall marching band, being competitive with that and competition and so on and so forth. In our program, every student participates. Like, we have a holistic band program where if you're in band, you're in band. So you do marching band, you do concert band, you do pep band, you get the sample every facet of band while you're with our program. And then in the winter, for years, we've had a winter guard that has competed. And then last year we built from the ground up a WGI Wins group. And
interesting.
We decided to do something complete. We just had some students that, sometimes it's about the director noticing what their students are into. And I noticed that we had a lot of our students that were into the competitive marching band element of this. And while I'm not going to sacrifice our concert band time, which is the center of our wheel, so to speak, we decided to do a completely extracurricular WGI Wins group for the students.
And what was that season like? How long is that? I'm curious now. How long is that season for you?
Oh goodness, we start actually later than a lot of other people. We start around the first or second week of December. And then this past year, we went to WGI World Championships. So that took us a little bit into the middle of April. But in previous years, the first year, we stopped right before spring break. So basically December to April.
Oh, not too long. What?
Yeah.
And you said concert band also does performance assessment. Did you say?
Yes. So
what is that?
We have every district, we have around 12 districts in our state. We have concert band performance assessment, large ensemble assessment event. They've called it 50,000 things over the past 20 years. So you prepare, 2 to 3 pieces, and they have to be off of a graded list. We have the Kentucky graded list, but we also use the NBA, the National Band Directors, National Band List. We use that list as well. You have to play one off of there, and then you can pick the other 1 or 2. But it's not as crazy and as, I know in Texas they have 3 judges on stage and 3 in sight reading or something like that. But in Kentucky we have 3 on stage and then 1 in sight reading.
Nice. And is that the end of, is it just one competitive event? Is there a state output, or is it just the one competitive event during the year?
Yeah, it's really there's not really too much of a competitive element to it, but if you do receive like a composite score, so if you add it all up and you get like 4 1s, so you get a score of a 4 or a 5, then you can go on to our state concert band assessment, which is in May. But that's something that I hope that we will really try and get more off the ground. Maybe there's some work we can do there to get our state concert band assessment to be more along lines of our friends to the north in Indiana, or even, my goodness, Texas. Their assessment is wonderful,
Yeah, here in Washington, it's kind of interesting. We have our non-competitive, competitive, concert festival, but we're all hosted in like regions. There's no one state, so to speak, and we don't really have the state concert festival. So the energy goes into like that. For me, here has been going into that March, and for me, trying to find ways to keep that expanding and keep going. Mm-hmm. So what is your favorite piece that you did this year? Let's do a little bit of a repertoire happiness. What's your favorite piece that you did this year? And it doesn't have to be your top band. It could be any band. It could be marching band.
I think my favorite piece that we performed this year was called Cumberland Falls Overture by Brant Carrick. It's Brant is a Kentucky boy, grew up in Bowling Green. His father, Cecil Carrick, was quite the band director and an amazing composer. But it's about Cumberland Falls, which is a waterfall. It's often called the Niagara of the South, over near Corbin, Kentucky, here in our state. And it's wonderful. So if you're out there, I would, as soon as we wrap this bad boy up, I would hop on Pepper and listen to Cumberland Falls Overture. And then whenever you play it, send me a video of it, because I'd love to hear you doing it.
You don't have to know this off the top of your head. What grade is it? What keys are it in?
What kind of it? 3.5, 4. I think it's very playable. But now you on a podcast, I think with Glenn, David, you mentioned giving your students pieces that are in their wheelhouse and then pieces that are maybe a step in front of them. And I think that this piece for a lot of groups out there would be one that, if it's not in your wheelhouse, I think it would be maybe one little step above with some skills that you need to refine and work on. And it would still give you time during your rehearsal. We all fall into that trap sometimes where we program too hard and we have a 50-minute rehearsal and we're beating the music and we have to skip our fundamental time. And it's like, oh my goodness, So I think this one creates the opportunity for you to spend 30-40% of your rehearsal working on those very important fundamentals that you need, and then transferring those skills that you've developed over to the literature.
Well, I think that's a culture unto itself for us band directors, is trying to find. That's why I like talking music, because like that piece of music, what's it teaching? What is that something that my band needs? And that's why I always ask people. I get more repertoire, advice from other people, and then 9.5 times out of 10, it's always right. And I'm like, this has been a great piece. So I need to see. I don't. My pad's under my thing under here. I can't write it down. I don't know where my pen went. I lost my pen. But I'll go back and listen until. You have any other pieces that you recommend out there? Another favorite, and it could be from anything. I like.
Well, Julie Giroux has some phenomenal music out there, and for my program, with where we are in our current stage of development, a lot of it is a little beefy. It's kind of the music that I would spend, the whole 50 minutes. All right, kids, get them out. We're gonna beat this piece till the bell rings. But I found one this year through a great friend of mine named Anthony Darnell, called Mambo Pero Loco. and it is the Crazy Dog Mambo. And Julie in the program note puts that it's music that only a crazy dog could dance to. And so it is phenomenal. And it's one of those pieces, and I think you can remember one or two off the top of your head that the kids just love playing. It's that where we're getting set up for rehearsal and the kids are kind of noodling on their own, and you hear them playing parts and bits and pieces from that, so the kids are really into it and bought in. So Mambo Paraloco by Julie Giroux.
Wow. See, I should just keep asking that. I just could sit here and talk about music all day. What I wish is I could put it up on here and listen to it for a second. I like that. That's great.
Oh yeah. Another thing that I kind of tried to spearhead back in around February was on my own personal Facebook, putting it out there to people. We go to all these honor bands, we go to all these events, take a picture of that program and put it up there and let us see. My group, a lot of times, if there's an honor band, like at a local university, whatever the 9-10 honor band is playing, that's perfect for my students. So I'm always like, oh, you're playing Awakening Hills by Richard Saucedo. Oh, let's pass that bad boy out,
and I think from my standpoint, like the one that I love is I love going to Midwest, and you go back years and years, and I just comb all that music because like I said, that I was Aaron Vogel. We were talking about when you select 4, 5, 6, you got to offset it with the 1, 2, 3. And what I've learned is my 1, 2, 3 knowledge is not as good as I would like it to be, because we all get kind of in, we're not all going to play Lincolnshire Posey every year. We're not all going to be playing the Persichetti 6. Every once in a while, when we're doing these 1, 2, there's some great music by some great composers, and that's part of the purpose is to get some of that. And like I said, I will stand behind pushing your kids with literature. I also stand by giving your kids literatures that they can do so that you can kind of work on some other things. Do your kids have any part of the music selection at your school? Is it kind of, or is it and it's, do you pick the music for the kids and then they fall in love with it? Or is there any type of student input?
We pass out a lot of music. I like for our students to look at, especially at the high school band, I like for them to look at a lot of pieces, play a lot of different things. And then we will kind of start to synthesize that down into what we actually want to play. And you can kind of feel that from the students. It's if we're struggling with the piece, it's like, oh goodness, we need to put some at-home time on this one, or we're not going to be able to play it. And if the kids, you kind of see them all smirk and look at each other like, oh, perfect, I'm not looking at this one ever, but then you'll see them sometimes go, oh, you can see that sense of urgency develop in their eyes. Like they really like this piece. And then there are some times that I'll have students that'll send me emails of pieces and say, hey, can we try and play this? And if it's something that we can, right on. But if it's something that's too hard, then I'll sit down with that student one-on-one.
Right.
And say, look, these are the skills that we need to develop if we want to play this piece,
Well, there's a couple of things, just some suggestions and things that we talk about that I've picked up is like taking a day out of my 5-day work, so to speak, and then doing more chamber ensemble work and solo work to kind of get some of those skill sets up. I'm going on year 4 now. I'm very excited because I'm now at the point where a kid that's now a senior has been in my system.
Absolutely.
My system, my system's built upon 12 key centers. And getting those kids to play all 12, sorry, freshmen next week. It's all 12 key centers for the rest of the week until we get them all done. Some of you got some stuff to do anyway. But I like throwing that there. But one of the things that I learned for, on student choice and just giving people some ideas is my pep band is kind of the impetus. We don't have a marching band at my school. So pep band is really big out here. And so it's bigger than I have ever imagined. I was kind of scared when I got the job because I was kind of overwhelmed with how much music I had to learn. I think somewhere between 40 and 45 pieces of music is what we have ready to go on a yearly basis. And I used to panic that how's that going to be? And then I finally figured out a cool little system. So at the end of the year, we play Survivor and we kind of vote kids off the island, so to speak. and at the same time, and you talk about a fun activity, the kids comb the music. So, and the reason I bring this up is because now that I'm on year 4, randomly I'll get messages from the kids. I don't know if we're going to be doing music, but here's a piece I think that we should think about doing for the next year, Pepe. And it's kind of like the culture that we've created with music selection. And then the other thing that we do is we're doing a pops concert every year. I force the students to make me make the selections, either, go in the library. What do we have? What are some things that we can buy? We could do some, what are some things we do, but just to get some of that personal selection and get some student choice. So last topic, so to speak, but what kind of student choice? It's not talking about student choice. What do the students say that their choices are at your school? What are some of the examples of student choice at your school?
I think that we have some opportunities for students to choose. Of course, we push, all participation in all district and we really sell that, and we sell solo and ensemble participation. And I think those are moments that the students are able to choose, and they're able, I have some students that sometimes will go, hey, our literature that we're playing for concert band is really not challenging me that much. Well, then you're the perfect kid to try out for the all-state band, like that is your choice and your chance to challenge yourself. But, with solo and ensemble, we really push that big. We hope that our students will choose to do that. And then we let them choose, as long as it's published, what they'll play for the solo and ensemble event. They can't play, Peaches from the Super Mario movie, but unless it's published.
Why not?
Unless it's published, but the solo and ensemble, we really talk a lot about that being, like Papa John's used to have a slogan: better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. So we talk with that within our group about this is our chance to make better ingredients. You get better, we all get better. So
here's an idea for everyone out there. Have your band council take the solo and ensemble rules apart and bring it as a presentation for your class, because that's I always laugh, because it's like, okay, no, you can't do that. It's got to be published. It's got to be this, some of those works. So I'm all about trying to find ways for kids to do my work for me. I think it's it is the beacon of awesomeness is, hey kids, here, can you take this apart and let me know? Because actually they will find rules that you didn't know exist. And actually sometimes it's to your benefit. Oh, look, there's another comment. Lincoln has always been great at giving students the powers to choose, while also strongly with stars, encouraging them to push themselves. Well said. I can tell by your personality who you are.
Yeah,
you're amazing for kids.
And Dessa puts that up there. I'll give her a shout out. Dessa didn't start playing her instrument till her freshman year of high school, and she now has a music education degree and was a phenomenal student for her private instructor at Western Kentucky University. And so it's seeing a student like that's rewarding. That shows that even on the bad days, we can have students that come out there and do great things. So you asked me earlier about that, and having her comment, I think that's what gets me through, even on my worst day as a teacher, even on whenever I feel like I've done the worst job possible. I hope that I'm still reaching students and being who they need me to be. Because sometimes it's not being who I think I should be. Sometimes it's being who they need me to be that day, that moment, that minute.
Okay, that is the most glorious comment. So to my producers in the background, can we capture that? That was incredible statement, my friend.
Thank
All
you.
right, are you ready for the scariest comment of the show now?
Yes.
Okay, we're pretty much out of time. It goes so fast, I think. So for those of you out there, for our listeners, we have Lincoln's email address, which I'll read. It's Lincoln, LINCOLN.ROWE row at ohio.kyschools.us. That's a mouthful.
It's
Lincoln.row at ohio.kyschools.us. So if you're watching on the video, you can just copy and paste. I guess you can't really paste, but for you listeners out there, and I want to say this to everyone before I give you your final words, which is, I love meeting. This has been the most amazing professional development of 20 episodes of me meeting just fantastic, great people who make a difference. Because believe it or not, I will take a bit of what you've offered today and it'll go in my classroom, because that's how it rolls. But contact Lincoln, ask him about things. I'm fascinated that your kids start in 7th grade, because then, I've got band we have to start in 4th grade. We have to start in 5th grade. I'm like, there are programs that start in 7th grade. And I still say this. I got kids that start in high school.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Oh, and so that's the way. So thinking about culture, thinking about students, thinking about Lincoln, thinking about his program, what are your final thoughts on culture before content today?
Well, I think that everybody should run out right now and buy this book called The Energy Bus by John Gordon. 10 Rules to Fuel Your Life, Work, and Team with Positive Energy. I was sitting around. We'd had the most successful year so far at Ohio County since I'd been here. But the amount of work that it took to get to that point, like you touched on earlier, taking quite the toll on me. As a person. And so I was feeling pretty empty, pretty drained. The band was doing great. And my wife suggested that I read this book. And I read it, and it was absolutely transformational. It was a game changer. And anytime that we have a change with any of our staff members or anything, a new person comes in, that's their first thing is either I'll buy that book for them or they will go buy it for themselves. And it is amazing just what having a positive outlook, not toxic positivity, but having a positive outlook on every situation and what that can do. And one of the big things from that, one of the 10 rules is love the passengers on your bus. And I think that's what we need to show our students, even, our students that have the perfect family set at home or anything like that, they need love too. And they need somebody, having that first person that's not within your family circle, that has to believe in you, that has to care for you because they're your parents or whatever. That first person that does that for you, you'll never forget them. And I hope that I can be that person for some young person out there, that they'll think, hey, the first person outside of my family circle was Mr. Rowe, who believed that I could do anything if I just set my mind to it. And that doesn't just mean within music. We have there's one young lady right now who just finished defending her dissertation in genetics at Arizona State that was a part of our program. And I hope that something that we did that she learned from our program will help her be great in that career. So love those kids.
Well, I'm sure they love you back. And from all the comments, the most comments we've had today, this has been amazing, Mr. Rowe. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for being an amazing guest today.
Thank you.
All righty, kids. It's the end of our show already. Can you believe it? So I just want to wish all you teachers out there a great summer break. And I'm telling you, I still got 7 days to go. I can do this. I've met somebody today with 8 days to go. There are some of us out there. And you worry about us because it's so long. But I guarantee you, when it's August, we're still off. So don't go back till September. But have a great, refreshing break. We will be back on August 4th. So I hope you all will join us. So here's my recommendation for professional development for the summer. There are 19 other episodes to get through, and I would love you to go back and listen to or watch every single one of them. But from my heart to you, I want to say thank you so much for being a part of the show this year, for all of you, because you have contributed to our culture. So thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in today's episode and all the episodes of Culture Before Contest here on the Music for All. I can't even talk today. Music for All Podcast Network, where we are immensely thankful to Yamaha, who is our national presenting sponsor. So share this on Facebook. Share this everywhere. Go back and listen to all the shows. And I'll see you back on August 4th. Have a great summer.